Episode 196 of the Wilderness Podcast is brought to you by our supporters. If you want to support the show, I thought I could do this with my baby here. He is not a fan of the podcast. I thought I could do it without waking him up. All right, this episode is brought to you by our supporters. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. Maybe little Remy here will go to college one day. No, just kidding. Maybe he'll have members when he starts playing RuneScape. Maybe. This episode is dedicated to our top tier supporters: Gentinu, Spleemo, Strosity, Mallard, Twisted Soul, J Blaz, Z Space, Chandler, and Yay Fiber. If you want to send a one-time donation in instead, you can do that in the form of a virtual coffee. So you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz. Do that. So thank you, Angie666, for keeping me caffeinated this week. And finally, thank you to our Discord server boosters: Bonehead, Battlestaffs, Beefy, Click, Chick, Fart Pilled, Hoyt, and Should've. Thank you guys so much for boosting the server. If you want to join the Discord, that's discord.gg/thewilderness. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to episode 196 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dilz. Joining with me, as always, is Heartless. Man, we are getting close to episode 200. We are inching there. That's like the next milestone for the podcast. It's been a while since we hit a milestone.
Yeah, 200's it's a pretty big game.
Yeah, I think the last one was kind of, I guess it's 150, but I think 126 was the next big one just because RuneScape max level. That's fun. But yeah, 200. Whoa, that's max experience when it comes to skilling. So we gotta do something fun. But I think we got some fun things planned. It should be make for a good episode. But we'll wait. We got 4 more episodes to go. This is 196. We got a big drop right out. 2022 right out the gates has been a big year so far compared to 2021. You know, we did our year in review last episode, and yeah, it was a little bit of a stinker. I mean, we kind of knew that going in, but
the episode was good, but the year was bad.
Yeah, exactly. When you lay out all the updates, you're like, you know, we didn't get any new bosses at all, which is like kind of weird. Usually we get a couple, and we usually get some hard hitting ones. But anyways, we got the next installment of God Wars. We got Nex, the 5th General. Not the most inspiring name, but that's okay. It's the next installment of God Wars. And it came out in 2011 originally, but you know, old school RuneScape was taken from the year 2007. All that content in 2007 was released in 2013. So there's a lot of updates that happened between 2007 and 2013 that a lot of people really liked. It's kind of debated on like what the golden age of old school RuneScape is. For you, what would you say is your golden age of RuneScape? Maybe not old school RuneScape, because it's been a good couple of years. Even though it's been a content drought, it feels like we might be in a would you say, I should ask you, would you say we're in a golden age of old school RuneScape, or do you think it already passed?
I would say yes. Right now, I think maybe not specifically with the last year, but I think like the last few years has been a golden age for the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty big player base. There's a very, very, well, not to say reasonably, there's a really dedicated team that also loves and plays the game. And I think the community is just, really quite strong. So yeah, I'd say we're in a golden age, but if you think sort of back to when you were kids, that was a golden age for its own reasons.
When you think of the golden age back then, before old school RuneScape, like what kind of years do you instantly go to?
I'm thinking like 2005 to 2007. Those were the days for me.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the same. Yeah,
I was basically just all I did was PvP. I did no PVM. I mined iron a little bit after I got scammed for my rune full helm trimmed. That's when I had my OSRS GF.
Nice.
That's when I was, making new accounts and fire striking with the boys and Wildy in Varrock Wildy multi.
Oh yeah, God, those days are gone.
Tried my hand a little bit of Chaos Altar and some other like deep wilderness stuff where you'd find people. I was a terrible player. Like I'm no pro. I'm talking like 50 range pure and then like a 50 strength pure. Those the counts I rocked up with.
And that's like all you needed. Like you could be a good PKer, quote unquote, from having just those stats.
The thing is, back in the day, like no one was good, obviously, and it was all about like brackets, So like right now, everyone's got their like max efficiency pures, like 88 combat with 75 attack, or like whatever you decide to make. Back then, like, the guy you're fighting only has 60 range as well. So you're on even playing field. I was also strictly free to play back then.
Oh, wow. Nice.
My parents were not interested in getting me membership at all. I never had membership until I came back as an adult.
Oh, that's crazy.
I think I did maybe in grade 12 when I, had a credit card or something. I think I played a little bit. It would have been like EOC and stuff. So maybe 2011, 2012. The game had definitely changed. But I think that's when I first got membership and I started doing like a bit of farming. But a friend of mine actually had membership in elementary school. So I would always go to his house and we just grind on his account.
Oh, lucky him. Yeah, he's got people grinding it.
Those were the days. And I was on another friend in high school. We would hang out together quite a lot. And he also had membership. And he cut willows to 99. And I remember we would just like grind willows. We just take turns, like 3-hour shifts, grinding his account on willows while we watched movies.
That's funny.
We went down to the corner store, bought a boatload of candy, and then just grinded willows all night.
Oh, man.
Yeah, fond memories outside of Barbarian Village. And he banked every single one.
And that's what people did. They wanted the best experience. They would chop willows, which is like not that fast, but it was back then.
It certainly was faster than some of the other alternatives.
Yeah, that's true. And because I had a friend he was like kind of looked up to him. He was like my role model for RuneScape. Not in real life. In real life, he like was definitely not the role model because he would skip school all the time to play RuneScape. He was like the type of person you'd be like, I think RuneScape's going to ruin your life. And he was like, nah. But he would skip school so that he could woodcut all day. And yeah, he got to like rank. And he was in the top 100s for woodcutting at some point. He had like 30 mil experience. It was like crazy, and still all just doing willows. And then I'm sitting there like, why? What? This is what you're skipping school to do?
With people like that, you mentioned like RuneScape ruined his life. Like, yes, it was RuneScape in the end, but if life had gone another way, would something else have ruined his life? It's sort of the great philosophical question whether or not it was RuneScape. Because obviously this game can be quite addicting and you can fall deep into it. But it's usually because other things are happening in your life, not necessarily because of the game. It certainly acts as an outlet. Like you can pour as much time as you want into this game. But I think you could say the same about other things.
Yeah, it's people who I guess tend to have like an addictive personality. They might also, they might, whatever it is, they'll have addictions in other places. Because I was pretty similar, and I think I am. I got to be careful sometimes because I get addicted to things, whether it's like gaming or smoking weed's the other one. I don't know if I have a third. I was trying to think. Other video games, I think it's just video games and weed. Those two, and then when you mix them together, oh boy, that's a Friday night.
Oh boy, are you running agility laps all night? Yeah. I don't smoke at all, so I'm not into that circle. I did a couple times when I was a teenager, but never really got into it.
Yeah, and for me, I'm like I got to stay away because it just consumes everything. And funnily enough, I don't even. I hate playing RuneScape because I can't click things and I'm dragging. And anyways, it's just a total mess. But yeah, point is. That person I went to school with, he totally loved cutting willows and definitely had an addictive personality. But going back, you mentioned earlier about Wildy Varrock PKing, and it reminded me that of that same friend. We had about 5 of us, and we had an account, like a pure is called like IPKU, and it was 1 through 5, and there's 5 of us.
Nice.
And we used to do Varrock multi all the time, and it was a lot of fun. And it got to the point, and like we weren't good. We just had this power in numbers, especially in multi. And it got to the point where like I remember walking around and you'd be in like Catherby or something, and someone would be like, "Yo, I bumped into you or one of your other people." Like people would recognize your name, and you're just like, "Man, this feels pretty cool."
Yeah. Oh, you were a well-regarded PKer back then, Dilz.
From like 3 people, and then I guess people stopped playing, and then it all falls apart.
It's funny because I remember back in the day, so there was sort of like echelons of power level when it comes to PKing, especially when you get into like multi, which is what kids were into back then. We were all multi guys for the most part. So obviously, like early levels, magic is disgusting.
Oh, so it still is.
You get Fire Strike, broken.
I used to quick interjection. When I used to play on my PvP hardcore Iron Man, I used to stream it. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is I was in PvP Worlds a bunch, and on Saturdays and Sundays, there in free to play, there were low level mages all over the place just PKing each other because they're easy to make and they hit hard.
Yeah, they're actually quite fun. When I was a kid, I remember making like multiple accounts just to like, and then when you cap the mage at like 15 or 16, just make another account.
Yeah.
So those are the days.
Easy.
And then it kind of moves into range for a little bit because it's so fast. When you get the maple short bow, you start powering through people, and then it goes back to mage again. Like, I remember how OP Fire Blast was when you saw someone who actually has grinded 59 magic.
Constantly hitting double digits. Damn.
Is it 65? I can't remember for Fire Wave. I think it's 59 for Fire Blast. But man, you'd be hitting like, I don't know, 16, 17s.
Yeah. Wow.
Disgusting. And it just like starts to win quite a bit in power. And then it goes on to like basically melee. Because the Rune Simi just caps out a lot higher than the Magic Shortbow does.
Yeah, it's true.
Or sorry, not the Magic Shortbow, the freaking Maple Shortbow.
Maple Shortbow.
Always wondered why we weren't allowed to use shortbows in free to play.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because tier 40, it would have made a lot more sense than just stopping at tier 30. Especially since you could already cut use in free to play. So that never really made sense to me.
That is there's a lot of weird things when you start like looking at it. Not a lot of things make sense.
No, but anyways, I can't even remember what we were talking about. Let's go on this tangent.
Yeah, well, if we were to circle it all back, as you can see, that's the golden age for us because like we have so many memories tied to it. And it was good. It was popular. Lots of people playing it. And then there was this 2007 where they killed off the Wildy. They killed off free trade. And then I quit.
I read that article, hard quit.
Oh, you quit.
Never played again. Never logged in until that high school day.
Yeah. Basically the same. So, that's why we, I guess, consider it the golden age. Everything went downhill after that. But a lot of people regard like the era of like 2009 to 2012 or whatever. Like people consider that the golden era where you have bosses like Nex and you have curses and you have the first iteration of Dragon Claws. And you have a bunch
this is like before the sort of like microtransactions crept into the game and took over.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I could see that. Like content was new. It was like they started to really push the boundaries to like get the player base back.
We had an HD client. Yeah, they revamped the graphics.
Certainly a good argument. I've never played during that time, so it's hard for me to say.
Yeah,
but I could see where people are coming from. And then obviously, like we mentioned, now is quite good. I think later on in my life, I'll look back on this time as like a fond memory. The time I played RuneScape, I've enjoyed most of it.
Yeah,
and the friends I've made along the way. I think it'll be a very good memory in the future. So.
Yeah, I like when I think of old school RuneScape's golden age. At least for me right now, it almost feels like when Chambers of Xeric first came out, and it goes all the way until now, until they fuck something up down the road, whether that's microtransactions or some crazy, crazy like EOC like update where they try to change something big.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about next. But yeah, this release weekend has been really hype.
Yeah, and a lot of people were looking forward to Next. A lot of people loved Next when it was released. And so, Jagex looked at, okay, there's this other people that call it like the Golden Age, the second Golden Age. It's debatable, but so they like, let's bring Next. And, they also brought Soul Wars, right? That was another update that they pulled from back then. So a lot of people have these, like a bunch of these like pillars of content that they really enjoy. And Jagex is introducing some of the good ones that fit. at least next. That being said, so yeah, that's the big update. And I guess the main reason to talk about is like, I know that's a lot I think that's a lot of what we've been up to this week, right? Have you been up to anything not Next related?
I have just Next and made amethyst arrows. That is it.
Sounds like that's great. And we're going to talk about the fight once we get to the updates, and we'll talk about some of the items that came with it. But yeah, same. I was doing it on day one release. It was packed, and that's what's really cool about any updates that come out. even Shooting Stars. When Shooting Stars is released, day one, it's actually fun because so many people are doing it. Everyone's excited for this new piece of content to try it out. Everyone wants to be the first one to get whatever item it is. So it's just like jam packed, and Next was jam packed.
Yeah.
So I was grinding it out. And
you were there day one, right?
Yeah, I was there day one. It's funny. My son, he's a newborn. If this is your first episode, he was born November 25th. So he is sleeping a lot, but throughout the night, he like kind of rolls the dice and he's like, you know what, tonight, yeah, fuck sleep. I'm going to stay up all night and I'm just going to like make noises, little baby noises, and I'm going to move around and keep them up all night. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's what he ended up doing the night before Next. So it was like 7 a.m. and I'm like, maybe I squeezed in a small nap and I was like, oh shit. They normally push out updates at 7 a.m. I'm going to go jump on and do some Next. That's what I did. And then so many people were doing it that you could kind of AFK it all day.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about the day one meta because it was really interesting.
Yeah, it was
especially for
hectic.
People who weren't able to participate or don't have the accounts in the range to participate yet. There were some fun stories from day one. I also got up really early. I had to work that. That was my first day of work. But turns out that school was postponed for a week.
Oh, interesting.
Because of COVID.
Oh, right on.
I was still working, but I was like on site, like preparing for like potentially going to online.
Word. That's annoying.
The schools have to shut down. So that's what I was doing that week. So it was nice because I could have streams on while I was at work, while I was grinding.
That's cool.
in my new class, trying to set everything up. So that was just pretty good. And yeah, I ended up not being able to sleep very well the night before because I was nervous and I was like also excited about Next. So I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning. I was like, oh fuck it, I'm not gonna get any more sleep. Hopped on.
Oh yeah.
Sent some Next until like 7:30, and then made some breakfast and went to work.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great time though.
Yeah, it's fun, and we'll definitely get into it. But I never know if I should hold my personal stories that are tied to the update section. But where I'm not, I'll talk about it now because that's all that's kind of happened this week. It kind of it's what I've been focused on. So I was doing Next, and I was funny when we did the year in review. I was looking back on my like account and I was like, man, I've barely made any bank. I probably actually lost money just from like skilling and the economy in the dumpster, but items going down. But I was like, I haven't really made any significant growth to my account besides some skill levels. That's okay. But I was like, how sweet would it be to get the fabled day one drop? That's what everybody wants. You were all grinding it, hoping to get it. But with Next, the drops are fairly common, and we'll talk about it. But with so many people doing it, just because they're like not super rare from the boss, they're super rare for you to get it because there's like 80 people in a room. But lo and behold, I got super lucky and was able to get the Torva plate legs on day one. And I was friggin' stoked. I was like, that's awesome. Like I've never really had this experience before, and it's really cool. And it's like, oh man, how much is this worth? I have no idea because these are brand new items, and the price is just going to be dropping because people are trying to figure out where is this going to settle. So anyways, I thought I'd made like $2 billion. I was like, oh my god, I made 2 billion gold. Holy shit, I could buy like whatever it is. I could buy Gillinor from Jagex, and didn't quite. Eventually, it settled on about 530 mil, which is still a boatload of money.
It was solo, right? Free for all?
Yeah, it was a free for all. Yeah, because there's so many people. Yeah, you're just like, we're keeping it all, wherever it drops. Yeah, so I got it. I was like, holy shit, this is it. And there's been a few items that I wanted to buy to try different content. I've been trying to do Fasani's Nightmare, but it is really, really, really hard. And I felt that while my skill level isn't quite there, but I also don't have quite the gear to do it, so I'm at a big disadvantage. So I wanted to get full bandos. I wanted to get ancestral. I wanted to get declaws, all these things that would help me in the fight to learn it. So I went and bought that stuff. I was like, sweet, tons of money. Oh my God, I don't even know what to do. Like, what do you do with all this money? What do I buy? And then I was like, I had talked to someone way back and they were asking me like, when am I going to do the Inferno? And I was like, well, maybe I'll do it once I get the Kodai, wand, because that's one of the items, one of the big items you need. And then everything else you can kind of find substitutes, I suppose. Well, anyways, I didn't need to get substitutes. I was able to get the Kodai and buy all the Inferno gear that I want. So I was like, you know what? I was kind of thinking, because hearing your experience with the Inferno and other people's, it's like a marathon, right? Like how long do you remember how many like months or weeks it took you from starting it to completing it?
About 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks. And were you trying it pretty consistently each day?
I would go pretty hard on the weekends because I was working at the time.
Yes, right.
So yeah, it took me like 21 attempts, and assume that's like 3 hours each at least.
Okay, so that's a lot.
And then in the week I would just prep for it, like, make potions, right, or mine or something. I can't remember what I was doing at the time. I was AFKing blood runes because it was quite heavy on the blood runes. So it was something like that. Yeah,
it's crazy. So, and if anyone's listening who might not know what the Inferno is, it is the hardest content. If you see someone with an Inferno cape, you're like, damn, the guy's good at the game. Or you're thinking, damn, he's got a lot of gold to buy an Inferno from somebody else, for someone to do it for them. It's not tradable. You got to pay someone to like team viewer your account. So it's like this really prestigious item. And, as you mentioned, like over 60 hours, that's quite the time sink to get to do just to like earn this item. But it's all about the skill you get along the way, yada, yada, yada. But I was thinking, like, I've been wanting to do the Inferno and I have never even stepped in it. But now with having a kid, the newborn stage is they sleep and they eat, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's all they do. And they just chill. And I was like, man, if there's any time that I'm going to get the Inferno cape, it's like now or never, because eventually it's going to become, it's going to start thinking on its own. It's going to think it's funny to screw me up while I'm doing the Inferno. It's going to unplug the internet because it's bored. You know what I mean? It's going to, it doesn't just sleep and eat. I have about 2 to 3 hours in between feeds. Yeah,
the Inferno, you basically need like 3 uninterrupted. Well, for me, because of the BOFA and because I like to take my time. But yeah, you need at least 2 uninterrupted hours when you're learning.
Yeah, and that's and when you have kids and other responsibilities, when you just grow up in general, when you become a grown up, that's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, it was hard for me, and I don't have children.
Yeah, I mean,
and I already play the game a lot, and I still was hard for me to like carve out time to be like, okay, I had to plan like, okay, a Thursday night, I'm gonna send a run. I would do it every 2 days. I would send 1 run in the week just for like trial, because my time zone was lucky. I could start my run when I got home from work, and then my Falador shield would reset, so it would give me like an extra 2 charges.
Oh, sick.
So basically an extra 200 prayer, which was kind of nice, actually. So I kind of abused that a little bit just for learning. Then I could like keep rigor on the higher waves, and didn't have to worry about flicking as much.
Yeah, true. That's funny.
Quite a blessing for me.
Yeah.
In the end, I ended up not needing it, but it was good to learn with.
Yeah, it's cool. And even just having like a significant other in your life, you kind of have to like, hey, can I have 2 hours where like you don't bug me to like turn on the printer and help you print some document, whatever it is, right?
Exactly.
Menial, yeah. So anyways, I'm like, it's now or never. If I have a few months to do it, and this is my only chance to do it, so let's try to do it. So I bought a bunch of gear. I bought a heart monitor because I want to monitor my heart rate, because I got terrible like sweaty hands, and I just start panicking over the slightest thing. I do Fasani's Nightmare, and I complete 1 out of the 5 phases, and I start like twitching out. So it's pretty bad. So I got myself a nice little heart monitor.
Dude, that's so cool, actually.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I was like,
man, I gotta say, like, I already told the story about how my hands were like wet when I was doing triple jabs.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was getting close to getting my cape, when I could see it on the finish line, I could just fucking feel the blood like pounding through my neck up to my brain. It was crazy. I am so curious what your heart rate's going to be.
It's like, I'm also going to be kind of scared when watching it hit the 200 range. And you're like, should I just started the fight. Should I even do this? I might have a heart attack. Anyways, it should be fun. So I got it. Cause I'm going to start streaming my Inferno attempts. Maybe it'll help me focus. Twitch.tv/Dilz if you want to watch it. But I think it would be fun. So that's the goal. We'll see where it goes. I haven't even started it yet. I bought this like $100 heart monitor. My wife now is like, why do you need this? Well, I'm like, it's for this thing in the video game. I get the best cape in it, and it's really hard to do. And so I need to measure my heart rate and all this other stuff. And she was like, I don't understand this.
That's what these hardworking patrons are paying for in your heart rate monitor.
Hard to see how like out of shape I am. Oh boy, but it should be fun. Anyways, we'll see how the Inferno goes. I don't know when I'm going to attempt it next or for the first time, but we'll see. Been watching videos and studying, but finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was now I have this like chunk of change that I have like set aside for like running the Inferno, but it had me like what else do I do with it? I could buy items with it, but like, you know, sometimes RuneScape's not all about buying flashy items. Sometimes it's just doing what you think is fun. And what I did a long time ago was I like to collect like random items, and there's other people that like to do this. They'll buy like buckets or weeds, or they'll just buy a lot of some useless item just to try to get as many as they can in their bank just for fun, because we don't have any reason to do half the stuff in this game. It's just because we think it's cool. And but what a lot of people try to do, and I was doing it beforehand, it's you collect burnt fish and burnt food because you can't buy it from the Grand Exchange. You have to buy it from people like face to face. So it's kind of cool to see like how much you can get. And if you see someone's bank that they show off their burnt fish collection, if they have like 100,000 lobsters that are burnt, you're like, damn, dude, that's pretty cool. That's a lot of time sitting in like the Grand Exchange asking people to buy fish. Anyways, I did that a while ago, but I ended up getting rid of all of them because I didn't have the bank space. They just took up too much bank space. But now with this new extended bank, I'm gonna start doing that collection again. So I've been like having fun buying all these like burnt fish. I got a couple hundred, but it's really hard to buy burnt fish apparently. Way harder than it used to be, I think. But which another question I wanted to ask was like, when you as an iron, and I guess personally, you know, a lot of us like to flex. I was going to say you like to flex because I just assume anyone who plays this game, they like to flex off their account a bit. But how would you flex as I say this, I know the answer, at least some of the answer. But how do you like flex off the account, or like what are some of the things you're super proud of with your account, whether it's like some weird collection item or something?
I don't know. So like you can just like on an iron, the items are kind of the flex themselves. Rather on a main, I find the untradables are more of a flex.
Yeah.
So things like mutagens are a bit of a flex. Pets are obviously probably number one. Infernal Cape, those sort of things that take like either time, dedication, or skill to get. So on an iron, it's kind of the same thing, but like pets and items. So obviously the Ellie is like the easiest one. You just slap it on when you're doing mining or something. You get a lot of comments for sure. I don't know, like throw on a pet like Vedion, like one of my rare pets.
Mm-hmm. So you're all about like the high ticket items and the hard to get pets.
Yeah, I think usually.
Yeah, that's like what most people. That's the common one, right?
I say I'm pretty typical when it comes to like flexing. Nothing too silly. When I do Gauntlet, I do like to wear funny outfits. My go-to recently has been the black horse mask, the BoJack Horseman mask
nice.
From Medium Clues, which I think looks pretty funny with like spiked manacles and like Staff of the Light and stuff.
Yeah, you get some goofy stuff going.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's mostly just items and hard to get untradables and pets.
Yeah, that's the staple. And then I think, do you have things that you like, any personal collections? Like another collection thing that I have, and this is just what I do for fun. I collect empty vials, but only empty vials that I receive from decanting my potions that I make. So I've got like 30k vials that are just sitting there since I just never throw them away because I don't know. It's fun to watch it go up, I guess. Do you have anything like that?
Not really. You just on an iron, since you keep everything, you tend to have like huge stacks of random items.
True.
Oftentimes useless.
Yeah. Okay.
So like my ores are all very high, like 100,000 coal is sitting in the bank.
Damn.
100,000 gold bars sitting in the bank, stuff like that. 90,000 empty light orbs from getting 99 crafting. I just left them there. I can't remember what my other good collections are. Oh, when I used to joke about with my friends quite a lot. When I was really dry at Zelda, they kept saying stuff like, oh, because I would joke about the coconut drops pissing me off because they were so expensive. Coconuts are like 2.5K each or something like that. I have a stack of like, I don't know, 6 mil worth of coconuts in my bank. And I said I'd always drop them over to one of them when I got something, but I still have never done that. So I just keep my coconut hoarder.
Big old scam.
It is kind of fun to see like the collections grow. And sometimes I'll be going through my bank. I'm like, oh God, I didn't know I had that much of this thing. Because you just kind of collect it over time.
Yeah, it's funny. You just keep throwing stuff. Or like Rune Essence was another one. I always grab noted rune or pure essence. And it's fun to see when you hit like 100K. You're like, holy shit, what the fuck did they all come from?
Yeah, I'm coming up on 1 bill pure essence from PVMing.
1 bill?
Or
what?
Right? Is that right?
You know what? I don't know. That's a big number. That sounds
No, a million. Sorry, a million.
Okay.
Not a billion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 1 million. I have 790,000 or something.
Okay, a mill's still a lot.
Sorry, not a bill. That's crazy. That's madness talking. Yeah. We were off by a factor of 10 there, but yeah, if we're talking about coming up on 1 mil, it's still quite a bit.
The problem is you led with the bill, so it's like it being a mill. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's nothing.
You got me hyped.
Amateur numbers. Amateur.
Oh boy. All right. Fun stuff. Anything else you want to mention before we jump into the big old next? Because I know you've been grinding your face off with it.
Yeah. So I did 100 KC on day 1, just masses,
nice.
Which were like 1 kill took a minute.
Yeah.
So and I think the drop rate of getting an item, I did some rough math, was like 1 in 4,000.
Yeah.
So you hit the jackpot there.
Yeah. Super lucky.
Yeah, I didn't get anything day 1. Neither did any of my friends except for you. And then day 2, I didn't do any because I figured I was like, it's kind of a waste of time like going for that drop rate. And then day 3, they released the private instances.
Right.
With groups. So we started doing like 5 to 7 mans, which has kind of become the early game meta. And I've seen maybe 3 or 4 drops now. But nothing in my name yet. And I think I'm up to about 300 KC.
Fair enough.
And I did some rough math. It's like about 100. If you're doing a 6-man team, it's about 1 in 240 to get something in your name. So not too terrible. But you can only do like 10 per hour, Yeah.
So okay.
Just take time. But all the items are so good. Like I'm having such a fun time doing the content with my friends that I don't really mind about the drops. They'll come with time. Just gotta keep having fun and keep grinding.
It's going to be there for a while. So that's something positive to look forward to. But should we dive into like exactly what Nex is and what people...
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Okay, so Nex, the 5th general. It's, there's 4 other generals. Actually, is a commander the same as a general? Commander Zilliana, is she technically a general?
I don't know anything about military ranks. Commander would be higher, I assuming, than general. I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Anyways, so Nex is the 5th general, which if Zillion's not a general, then who is the 4th general? Anyway, well, we'll find out. But God Wars Dungeon, we have a boss for each, for a handful of gods. We have Bandos boss, Saradomin boss, Commander Zilliana. We have Krill Satsaroth for Zamarok, and we have Kriera for Armadil. Zeros needed some love too, so out came Nex, the 5th general. So the lore goes as such. Long ago, in the 2nd age of Gielinor, the land was ruled by a tyrannical ancient god known as Zeros. At the height of his power, one of his closest allies overthrew him, and the most loyal followers were imprisoned by powerful magics, including Nex, his faithful general. Nex is what is known as a Nihil, quite often referred to as Zerites, a powerful race of beings that were created by the god Zeros. He created these beings while looking for a cure for a race of reptilian humanoids known as Iluyanka. These were people who had bonded with wildlife in their homeworld before being brought to Gielinor by Zeros. But they had bonded with the wildlife so deeply that they required it to reproduce. Leaving their old world and the bond they had with this plant life, it caused them to become infertile, which is where Zeros had promised them the power of fertility, which is where the Nihil or Zerites were born from. Nex was originally an unnamed Nihil, but they were smarter and larger than the rest of those beings. Zeros took notice and decided to grant them sentience, as the other Nihil would destroy her for being different. She then took the name of Nex and would become one of Zeros' most loyal and powerful followers, though at first she was used as nothing more than just a weapon. As time would go on, Nex would recruit humans to Zeros' cause for what would be known as the God Wars. This is where she recruited the warrior of Torva from a village when he single-handedly defeated a horde of demons and showed no fear when facing the Majoret known as Haziel. Years later, at the height of the God Wars, a mysterious individual fooled a group of Saradominists into freeing Nex and her allies. This unprecedented threat forced the armies of Saradomin, Zamorak, Armadil, and Bandos to unite and drive their foes back into the ancient prison. But in the process, the magical protection sealing Nex and her bodyguards inside were damaged. This left Nex's prison somewhat vulnerable. And while officially speaking, the followers of her old master have been purged from Gielinor, certain nefarious types would be happy to see Nex freed once more. Boom, there's Nex. So, you get a frozen key to unlock the door at God Wars, and you get this key by killing General Gryador, Krill Tsetsaroth, Kriera, Commander Ziliana. You kill them all at once, you get a piece of the key, you're gonna boom, attach it all together, you get the frozen key, and then you can forever go and fight Nex. Nex works the same as other bosses at God Wars. You gotta get like a kill count, although they changed it. They're not calling it kill count anymore, they're calling it essence of the god. So, and which is kind of nice. And I think the idea is that they don't want you, with the Zami boss to get 40 kill count. You kill that level like 2 imp, right? It's really easy. You smack it, one hit it. There's like 3 of them that spawn. Super simple. For Bandos, you go kill the goblins. But there's higher level monsters in the dungeon as well. So the idea is that with this new essence, not kill count, is that if you kill a higher level monster, it will reward you with more essence. So you're not hunting down the lowest level minion. Overall, it's pretty easy to get your kill count for it. It's really easy. You just pray it. And the easiest thing about it is that once you get your kill count, you go to the next waiting room, like the lobby. There's a bank right there. So you don't have to worry about bringing your gear that you're going to fight next with. You can just gear up
just
in the next room.
T-bow it.
Yeah, exactly.
T-bow slide. You do like 3-shot them with T-bows, but obviously not everyone has a T-bow.
Yeah, super simple.
Though we will talk about the controversy about the T-bow eventually with Nex.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Bofa or whatever, blowpipe, they're all good. But by the way, I found out the answer to the question about the general thing.
Cool.
So the general is like the leader, major general is the leader of the army or regular general. And the commander in chief is like the politician, like the head of state.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't actually know like which one. I assume like the political person holds like is in charge technically, but then the general is in charge of the army.
Oh, so they're like separate hierarchies.
In a way, yeah. I think they have like the same. It looks like they have the same insignias and like they wear the same colors at special events and shit. So, like I said, I could be wrong, but yeah, general is like the highest person in the army, and commander in chief would be the politician.
Interesting. Well, pretty cool stuff. Side note, there's this subreddit called Combat Footage, and it's all about like videos happening in war zones, and that shit is really freaking crazy. I've been like watching a bunch of them because like I've never even like held a gun, let alone fire one.
It's kind of like a foreign thing in Canada. Yeah, Americans just like guns are just everywhere. But here you like see a gun, you're like, holy shit, dude, what's going on? Like, someone is like someone in trouble, or are you a criminal? Like, especially handguns, like you just don't see those here. Like, you see long guns quite often, because especially in the bush, because people hunt.
Right.
Like, I mean, that happens. But certainly you never see handguns and never see assault rifles.
Yeah, I remember I was at a hunting cabin. Well, I was at a cabin at my aunt's when I was a kid. She had like this cabin out in the bush, and you'd hear people like guns firing off like they were hunting. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of like, so you're telling there's no chance that we're gonna get a stray bullet. And she's, no, there's no chance. Like 100%, right? Like,
But I'm sure if you live in like a big city, you just hear gunshots every once in a while. It's just part of the daily life.
God damn. Craziness.
Yeah, it's frightening. I've only shot a gun once, and it was it was a good, interesting experience.
Was it fun? I heard it like really gets your jimmies rustled.
Yeah, it was harder than I expected it to be. My friend, when I was a teenager, a family friend was a police officer, and I used to go out with him quite often. It was always a good time. And yeah, he took me to the range one day and surprised me and was like, "Here you go, shoot at that thing." And I gave it a go, and he gave me some tips. But yeah, I found it rather difficult.
Oh,
but
man.
obviously having zero training doesn't help.
That is crazy. Yeah, there's no guns in God Wars, not yet at least. Well, I
Could you imagine the 6th general?
Oh, yeah, it's got like a minigun.
It's like Uzis are like one tick, two-handed.
We got cannons. We're not far off, I don't think. Anyways, no Uzis yet.
Golden age of RuneScape, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Gunsmith skill. It's coming soon. Yeah, so Next came out. And so, yeah, that's the whole kind of lead up to Next. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but yeah, and then you go in and you fight Next herself. So I guess we can do like a what do they say in like business? We'll do a real high level explanation of the boss, or is it low level? We'll keep things simple.
We'll do a like an easy version of the boss, like a rough overview of the fight.
Yeah, it's got some cool things going on. I'll quickly run through it, and then Heartless, I'll let you explain it properly because you have much more Casey than me, and I've been doing it in masses, so it's like I click it like 4 times. I just spam click, and then I'm like writing emails on the side. It's super easy. But yeah, the boss is like has the theme of Zeros, ancient magics. The boss's theme is that it has 4 phases, one for each different magic style. So you have one for smoke, one for blood, one for ice, one for shadow. Not in that particular order. So you have that. She kind of goes through them, doing spells from each of those different schools. And really, the only other thing I want to mention, because it was very, what's the word? It's ironic. No, maybe that's not the word. But she has a mechanic where everyone gets sick, and she sends out a virus, and everyone coughs. Literally, they all cough.
Let the virus flow through you.
Yeah, and then it spreads, and everyone else keeps coughing, and all this stuff happens. And yeah, and I was like, oh, that's funny. But this is how the boss fight was back in 2011. So they have it as is. And then it dies. Everyone gets a bunch of drops. Well, everyone gets their own drop. That's why I was able to get the plate legs. You don't need to do the most damage. All right, now Heartless, what did I mess up on? How does the fight actually go?
Nothing. I'll just explain a little bit more. So there's basically 4 phases to the fight. The first one is pretty sure it's smoke. She spawns in the middle, and she has basic attacks, and she also has phase unique attacks. So on each phase, she gets 2 new special attacks, basically. So I think she has 3,400 health, and you basically just divide her health into 4 equal sections. So once you get her past down to about 3/4 health, you'll be able to kill the mage that's sitting in the corner that's attacking with a special style. So the first one would be the smoke mage. You kill him, and then you move on to the next phase. So you do that 4 times, and then there's a 5th and final phase. So the first phase, her 2 specials are the virus, which is actually pretty annoying. It drains your highest accuracy stat. So because she's a range-based bot, like you're ranging her, it's going to drain your range. And it will spread to anyone that you're standing next to, just like the coronavirus. So, of course, on day 1, since it was 80 people, it was just being spread like everywhere. So a hilarious meta that someone came up with was to basically wear full ancestral with like range gear so that your mage offensive stat was like, a couple points higher than your range, so that the virus would actually drain your mage stat down to 0 instead of your range. Super funny. You'll have to see the day 1 strategies. So that's her first specific thing. In small teams, or even when we figured out, I didn't, but obviously nerdy streamers figured out how to like cough tank. Like she'll specifically target certain people. So that was quickly quite an easy one to solve. But yeah, chaotic in the first few hours.
Yeah, it was.
And then her second special attack is the run attack, or the no escape attack. So basically she will choose a direction and she'll sweep every single person, because the middle of the room is shaped like a cross and then the outside is a ring. So it's basically the exact same as the Zero symbol, which I think is a circle with a cross through it. So there's these like dark pits around the cross where you can't go through. So the pathing is interesting in the room. So yeah, that one just sweeps you and deals like, I don't know, 45% of your health. It sucks.
Oh boy. Oh.
But you can dodge it quite easily. So the specials in the first phase are really easy. Then you take down her mage in the corner, and then she'll move on to the shadow phase. During this phase, her basic attacks work differently. She hits you with range instead of magic. And the further you stand away, up to 10 tiles, you can take less and less damage.
Interesting.
She has two specials. The first one is like the darkness, which basically, I actually don't even know what it does. Just stay the hell away from her. She'll make the camera like go really dark, and you get dealt a lot more damage the closer you are to her. And then the second special for this phase is she'll put these pools under you, like at Nightmare, these black pools, and like a tick later, they'll spawn up and deal a bunch of damage to you. So you get her down to her threshold, which would be about half HP. And then you're able to kill Umbra, the mage in the corner. And that's easy peasy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
You can get stacked out pretty easily in that phase, because the mages in the corner aggro onto one person and they hit with magic, but you're praying range from the boss. So you're kind of susceptible to being stacked out by a couple things, especially because Nex runs. Those of you who don't know, the first boss to be able to run. So sometimes she'll like lock onto you, dash across the empty space and be right next to you, like dumping damage, and then Umbra will get onto you and you get stacked out. So that phase can be pretty brutal.
So I saw some JMods explaining that they had to like do some code magic tree behind the scenes, because she was the first one. Maybe it's to run, but I guess the difference is that, like, you know, the bloat for Theater of Blood, he does a run, but is it because really what he's doing is he's teleporting to 2 tiles at a time? Is that the idea?
I'm not sure. She just always runs. Bloat can like walk or run. So I guess maybe she's not the first boss to run.
But she's the first to do something, because they had to code some sort of pathing. I don't even know. But
she can dash, which is like the scary part. So she'll run towards you, and if she's targeted onto you and you're across, if she's in the middle of the cross and you're sort of on the outside of the ring, she can dash across the black space and be right next to you in a second, which can be quite, it's funny because it gives you pretty big jump scare, especially if your camera isn't pointed towards her, because you just kind of ignore her when you're killing the mages. She'll be like doing her thing over in the middle. But yeah, those are the first 2 phases. Then you move on to the third phase, which is the blood phase. So she has 2 special attacks. One of them is she brings out these Reavers, which if you don't kill them will heal her for a percentage of their health. Like I think it's 3 times their health. I'm not exact with the numbers. I haven't really, they're actually not even confirmed yet. And then her second one is she'll pick someone and you have to run either, I think 7 tiles away from her, or she'll deal a huge damage and heal off you. So it's the least punishing of the phases, I would say. And then you kill Kruor, who's in the corner. And then you move on to the 4th phase, which is the ice phase. This is when things start to get hard. So she has 2 attacks. One of them is the like prison attack, I'll call it, where she'll choose someone and they get locked into this prison, and you have to release people with a crush weapon or like something with high crush accuracy. And then they won't take any damage. But if they're in it, they're going to take like a 70. So you need to be saved by your teammates.
That's always good.
Though the nerds on Twitch did figure out that if you pray range, you only take half damage on that phase.
Nerds on Twitch,
because she'll shut off. I'm calling them the nerds, but they're absolute beasts trying out all these strategies. She shuts off your prayer when you're in the prison, so you can put your prayer up and pray range, and it will protect you from some of the damage. Then her next attack is she'll just say contain this, and then all the tiles around her you'll be like locked into place and take a 40 or a 50. It's pretty brutal because she's barraging you. You can get frozen next to her and then get screwed. So it's another pretty punishing phase.
Oh boy.
Then you kill the last minion and she moved into her final form. She doesn't actually change, but starts to get these crazy overheads. So one of them is soul split, I think.
Yeah, the curses we were talking about. Yeah.
Oh, it's brutal, dude. It's brutal. So she deals boatloads of damage and she smites you, and she heals for all the damage that she's dealing. So it's basically like a huge DPS check. So you just have to be pumping in the damage, or else you're going to be taking a lot. And then the other special, there's no other special on this phase. It's just that she has these overheads. Another one is deflect melee, which means like she won't take incoming melee attacks, which is kind of weird. It's kind of irrelevant. It should have been a deflect range, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. True.
And then that's the fight. And then you just basically burst her down at the end.
Yeah.
And it can be quite crushing. And she doesn't scale like other bosses. Like she always has the same health, the same stats, whether you're one person or 80 people, which is why she goes down extremely easily. And the fight is an absolute joke when you're in a max instance, but it becomes really, really difficult the smaller you get. But of course, the rewards get higher because I think it's only like a 1 in 40 or so for you to get a unique drop from her.
Yeah. I like the way that it drops. It'll be like, next drops 10,000 death runes, and it's like divvied up between everyone in the room. So then you get like 50. You're like, oh, that's not 10,000. But so yeah, everyone gets it. Another thing to note: there's a lot of supplies that drop. So much so that in a mass, you could stay there all day, picking up sharks, picking up prayer potions, picking up Cerberus and super restores whenever they drop, because people just don't have enough inventory space to pick theirs up. So yeah, that happens, and thing that they brought out. So in the mass, there's that cough mechanic. Everyone was like spreading it because you had 80 people hanging out. Nobody was social distancing. Everyone was indoors, and everyone was getting hit with the cough mechanic. So yeah, as you mentioned, everyone was switching to mage gear while ranging it because they were like, "We're super smart and we're gonna play around it." And then Jackus is like, "Well, you know what? Fine. Wear a face mask, wear your Slayer helmet, and it will reduce the impact of the cough mechanic." So then everyone started doing that, switched back to their range gear, and boom, Bob's your uncle. Everyone was having a good time. And they eventually also limited the rooms from 80 down to 60 because 80 was a lot. And I guess it like for this new boss coming out, just to see everybody just like destroying it within a minute, it's like, okay, let's reduce it just a little bit.
I mentioned the 5 phases with the 4 minions on the side. In the 80-man mass, you got 1 twist. So obviously we're talking about what items are good. Whatever weapon you bring in, you got 1 shot off per phase. And then it would be down to the next phase. Yeah. Like that quick.
So like a lot of crazy things happen in the market. And I like to think that I started this trend. I could have made a lot of money if I thought ahead, but I don't think ahead. I just think locally. And I wasn't getting KC all the time because I was kind of AFKing. The fights were going too quickly. And I was like, I'm not getting any kills. I'm not getting any damage off with my T-bow. I'm going to go get a dark bow and use the spec at the beginning of the fight because the dark bow spec, you hit 100% of the time when you use it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much damage you do, but you're still going to do a lot of damage. And if it has dragon bones, like a minimum of like 10 each or something. I can't remember what it is, but I was like, I'll get the dark bow, spec off, secure me the KC. And then a lot of other people started doing that. They all saw me doing it and they're like, I'm going to do that too. I don't think that's what happened. I think people just probably thought the same thing. And then the dark bow went from like 400K up to like 4 mil. It was insane.
Yeah, it's really good in masses, right? Because you're only getting one. The fact that dark bow sucks because it's like a 7-tick weapon. It's really slow. It's 2 ticks more than twisted bow, which is already quite a slow weapon.
Still one of my favorites though. You shoot 2 arrows. You're like friggin'
exactly
Legolas,
and it doesn't miss. So it's really strong. So yeah, people are all about the dark bow day one.
Yeah, so it really went up. People figured that strategy out, which was really cool.
So yeah, I would say the most efficient way to currently do it is with a 5 to 7 man team. That should get you, the KCs will be difficult, but not too hard. Like you have enough DPS to work through all the phases and you can get 3 to 4 kills per opening of an instance. And it's going to yield you between, 10 and 12 kills per hour, which is going to give you every 4 hours you should be seeing a unique. And they're really expensive right now, so it's pretty efficient. It's pretty good money making. It's really fun too. It gets less engaging and less fun when you're not taking any damage and you don't really have to dodge anything in the masses. But yeah, in smaller teams, it's really good. Funny enough, people are like, Jagus, like, the crossbow is going to be important to have a shield, because obviously the spectral reduces the amount of smiting that you get done in the last phase. It also reduces the cough. But it turns out the cough is like kind of irrelevant, especially in small teams. And, spectral, sure, it stops the soul splitting part of your prayer. But I mean, you just rather have an Ellie because it's going to protect you from the actual damage incoming. And that's a lot more important than prayer. Prayer doesn't really matter because you drop so many prayer potions. Health is a lot more important in this fight. And Twisted Bow is like second best in, so it's sort of been kind of figured out. The Twisted Bow is basically second best in slot after the new Zerite crossbow.
Yeah, people aren't super thrilled about that because I think the way Jagex had worded it was like T-Bow won't be best in slot. I don't know if they ever said that, but let's be real. T-Bow does good against magic-based monsters. And I mean,
she is a magic-based monster, so it's kind of like, goes without saying she's going to be weak to a Twisted Bow, and it's just true. It slaps. You do get kind of punished, especially in the small teams, but the meta's sort of been figured out where you use the T-Bow for most of the time, and then you use like an ACB with an Ellie or a Buckler or something, or a Spectral during the last two phases. I would talk about another mechanic that's been recently discovered, and it's just kind of broken the fight, and they're gonna have to patch it.
That's fun.
But yeah, it's kind of sucks about the Twisted Bow being best in the slot. I was really just hoping crossbows would be.
You were hoping crossbows were coming back.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they should have just forced it and made it like that she takes extra damage from crossbows.
That's what people were saying.
Or has reduced damage against other things. But that's like, it is a little bit cheesy in a way.
Yeah, it's like a lazy mechanic where it's like
the corp thing with spears.
Nothing works but hammers because it's got like weak hammer skin. Yeah, it's like that was just another example. But like
but then again, is it better than Twisted Bow just being best in slot? Probably.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Either way, Twisted Bow is second best in slot. The best in slot is the new Zerite crossbow, which is a very, very strong weapon. So you attach the Nihil horn, which drops from Nex, and you add it to an Armil crossbow. And it makes this new crossbow that its passive is it gives 10% more on bolt specs. So with rubies hit 110 instead of 100, which is nuts. And then it has a special attack where for 75% of your energy, you get a guaranteed proc if you don't roll a 0. So as long as you hit your attack, it hits. So basically all the time it hits.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's the best in slot, but you still then you'd bring a Twisted Bow if you have one, or like a blowpipe to kill the minions and stuff.
Overall, what do you think of the fight? They basically ported the fight like, I want to say 1-to-1 from how it was back in the day.
It's hard ported, yeah. Basically, it's the exact same.
So some people, myself, I was a little disappointed only because I think the fight's cool and I'm glad it's here. I don't think it's bad, but I think when you compare it to the Nightmare of Ashiyama, which is one of the more recent one of the more recent PVM updates we got. Nightmare of Ashiyama is just like punchy. It's cool. It looks really awesome. All the mechanics are they feel very modern, whereas Next feels like a boss from 2011.
I also find it a lot more fun. I think most people think it's a lot more fun than Nightmare.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I really, really like the fight a lot. I think Nex is a really well-designed boss, so the fact that they ported doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, I just think it's very enjoyable. It gets really, really entertaining when you get into smaller teams.
Yeah, see, I haven't done in smaller teams yet.
I think masses, it's pretty unfair to judge the boss on masses because you stick 80 people on any boss and it instantly dies. If we just pick any boss in the game, basically you're gonna one-shot it with 80 Twisted Bows or ACBs going at it. So I think it was unfair to judge it on that. But yeah, when you start getting into this, the 5, the 6, the 7 person teams, it starts to get a lot more interesting. You have to coordinate together. You have to come up with some strategies so that you take less damage. You have to protect each other. It's pretty cool. And I think it's been really well done.
Now, there was one, I'm not even going to call it controversy, but some people were also voicing their disappointment at the fact that it doesn't really seem like soloing it, at least for now. I think, I think we do have to give it some more time for metas to devolve and people to figure out ways to solo it, but
it's basically not effective to solo it, and I don't think it ever will be currently in its current state.
Because it never scales and it's always a flat, HP, all the stats are flat. So you go in there, if you're at 1 or if you're at 80, it's all the same. It makes it soloing it to be incredibly hard. Wooks was doing it a bunch and he was having a hard time even getting it past half health. And we did get our first, the world first clear that happened a couple days ago, and it took over 3 hours. So
yeah. And I know I've seen Kriskis and Bodhi did a 14-minute duo.
Yep.
Which was pretty impressive. But this strategy came out a couple days ago. There's a mechanic in the game called a red X. And basically I know it's going to sound a little bit cheesy. When you click on an object to interact with it, instead of a yellow X appearing, a red X will appear. So when you click on the ground to walk, a yellow X will appear. So let's say you click on a bank that's 10 tiles away from you with the red click, you will walk over and then interact with that object. So what happens while a boss is hitting you, if you do it correctly, if you red X on an object, the boss won't be able to hit you because I think it's just somehow that the game is I don't actually know how it works, but some way the game is coded, that action of you clicking to interact with the object will override the boss, so it won't be able to attack you. So for example, there's a lot of methods that exist, specifically in God Wars Dungeon, to red X through monsters. So there's one called 5-0 Zami, where you attack Zami 5 times on these specific tiles. And as long as you get the timing right, you can red click to pray on the altar, and your character will run to pray on the altar, and you'll path underneath Zami and he won't be able to hit you. And then as soon as you get away from his melee distance, you can start attacking again. And then it becomes this cycle of you running around, hitting him while he never hits you. So it's called a red X method. There's another really popular one in Bandos called the 7-0 Bandos method, or the 9-0, where you hit him 7 or 9 times and he hits you 0 times because you path through him. People use a cannon on that one, but basically any immovable object that you can interact with can be used. So people found out that at Nex, during any phase really, but specifically a final phase, if you stand underneath her when you have aggro, you can click on the minion door that's behind the portal. And because your character can't actually path towards it because it's on the other side of the portal, you will turn to try and interact with it, but you won't actually move. So you step under Nex, you turn to click the door, and Nex will not do anything for 2 attack cycles. It'll just stand there trying to attack you, but it can't because you've clicked on the door, so it overrides it. So it's kind of this a thing that lives in the code of the game, but is also almost a bug in a way.
It's like the 2020 prairie flicking.
It is. Every time Nex, this is no longer a children's game, by the way. Every time Nex changes aggro, which should be every 2 attacks or every 8 ticks, it will melee someone else. That person then just steps underneath, clicks the door, and you next won't be able to attack for 2 more attacks. So she's only going to get 1 melee off every 2 attack cycles, and everyone else can just be free hitting on the sides, not taking any damage. Because usually she's either meleeing, cleaving, or soul splitting you, and you just won't be getting anything because she's trying to attack this person that has basically stalled under her.
That is so wacky. And what terrifies me is I've been seeing it all over Reddit. And when you say the red click mechanic, I'm terrified because it's oh my God, Jag is going to see. They're going to be oh, they think it's a mechanic. Let's build it into the game. We're going to come up with content where red clicking is part of the fight. That's what they did with like some of the like prey flicking has become part of the game. It was a bug, now it's a mechanic.
You know, it sounds scary. Like, trust me, I was scared of this. Like, oh, red click. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how does that work? I used to never want to do it, but I learned the Bandos and the Zambi methods. It's so easy. Like, it's very easy to figure. It's easier than prayer flicking. It's just more of a concept than anything. You kind of have to trust that it will work as long as you get your timing correct.
Trust that the code is so broken.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's broken. It's just the way the game is made. I don't think they can't really patch something like this as far as I know, because it would remove all the other methods that also exist. And they don't seem to have a problem with them. But this one is quite problematic because it turns the fight from something that should be easy into something that should be hard and something that's like ridiculously easy to do.
Cerberus had the same thing where you could click on a boat and then he would just stop, and all of his special attacks, he would skip over them because he's like, oh, you're trying to get on this boat? I'll give you a free pass. So they had to patch that one.
So my guess is they're going to add, the obvious one seems like adding a stomp mechanic, but I think that's a bad idea because you want to be able to step onto her to swap aggro and not take damage and stuff. So I think maybe like every time you're under her, like you take more damage or something like that would be interesting. But they're definitely going to add some kind of mechanic to discourage or make it not viable anymore to red click on the door to stall her attacks. I hope I didn't explain it in like too confusing of a way.
I think it's just a confusing thing that like it's because this game is so old.
Like, I don't know how it works. It's just the way the game is made. Red clicking on any object will take precedent over the minion's attack, which makes it really strange.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff.
That's pretty much the fight.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a great boss. Obviously, it's very easy to farm right now with this method.
And I do got to circle back because we were talking about soloing it, and some people were like upset because it's like, well, it doesn't look like you can solo it, which I don't think it's that big of a deal. Some people do think it's a big a deal, and I understand because having the option to solo anything is always very nice. You don't want to have to wait for your friends because they're friggin' dicking around, at Castle Wars, because people do that. But the problem is that Modern Kane had said on a live stream that like, yes, you can solo this boss, but it won't be the most efficient way of killing it. So myself and a lot of people are thinking, okay, so you can solo it, but it's gonna be more efficient to kill it in a group of 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it turns out it's like, no, you can't really solo it. And by it being not efficient, yeah, you're gonna take 3 hours to get a kill. Normally I would be like, let's run the conspiracy music, but yeah, we'll dribble it in here. I think what they're going to do is they're going to bring out a solo mode for Nex, and they're going to call it hard mode Nex circa 2022 when they delay Raids 3 inevitably.
Oh, I see you going deep with this one. Yeah, I almost 100% guarantee I'm with you that they will release either a scaled down version or like you said, a hard mode version of Nex.
Yeah.
That is soloable, because solo content is usually quite desirable in this game.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have to jump into content without having to wait for your stupid idiot friends. So the last thing to mention before we move on to the items was about to do with combat achievements, because we got the combat achievement diaries, or tasks, whatever you want to call them, that they gave every boss to have these really hard tasks to complete. So they're going to be bringing those to Nex just in a few weeks once they can figure out exactly where people are landing on it. And they've even talked about bringing some additional rewards to some of the diaries in the future, because they realize that they're not the most exciting. And as more content comes out, it's going to be even harder to complete the tasks, right? When the Raids 3 comes out and whatever it is, they're going to have to add more. And these rewards are already not great to begin with. So they've talked about possibly adding some more. But one that they did add was, and this is how people are doing it in small groups, if you have hard tasks complete, you can open up a private room for Nex. So
yeah, this is the kind of stuff I like.
Yeah, it's cool.
It slightly improves or in this case, quite greatly improves the sort of fun or variety that you can do with your PVM, because they are combat achievements. So honestly, I think the hilt itself, like with the infinite teleports and stuff, kind of lines up with where the the achievement diaries, which also are incredibly difficult to complete.
Yeah.
But their sort of final forms all have, a niche use in the game. Like the armor giving like 2 ores once in a while.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I think that's about as useful as the hilt. But obviously, I think the combat achievements are more difficult. So, the Slayer helms kind of speak for themselves when you get to the higher tiers. There's sort of the chase items, those, flex items like we talked about before. Like that's what a lot of endgame players want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think adding a few more nice little rewards here and there would be good. Some people have been talking about decreasing the amount of KCs that you have to get to achieve these diaries. I'm seeing like 100 Vedion for the hards, 250 Guardians for the elites and stuff.
Yeah, they've actually even talked about full on removing those. JMods have.
I don't know what you think, but I'm on the. I think it's pretty stupid. Like they're hard and elite combat achievements. Like having KCs in there, yeah, sure they take time, but they also give people a chance to try new content.
Yeah,
I think it's important to have those in there.
Yeah, like on one hand, I liked it. If I need something to do, I go look and I see, I need 100 kills at Vedion. Well, I'll go do a few of them.
Like suck it up and go learn a new boss. Like at what point have RuneScape players ever been afraid of a grind? And 100 Vedion is, but if you call some of these like 250 KCs hard grinds, then maybe you're chasing after the wrong achievement diary.
Yeah, I think the issue, I hear it a lot from people who are some of the more skilled players. And this is where this is where the JMods talked about why they want to remove it. I think it makes sense. It's that everything else in the combat achievements takes some sort of skill, whether it's like completing killing the boss in a certain amount of time. But then once you complete all those skill related grinds, then you have these other grinds, which is just kill them 200 times. So if somebody has got all the tasks done, they might still have to go commit to another 100 kills, just because, even though the idea of the task is to be like, if you can complete all the tasks for this boss, then you're really good at the boss. But killing it 200 times doesn't quite mean much, especially if you're able to get all the other tasks. Doesn't matter that you can kill it 200 times. So that's the argument I heard from people in the community, and I also heard from JMods.
I see it on both sides.
So, I personally kind of like having the kill count there because it's an excuse for me to go back to that boss and keep grinding away. And then again, I suck at this game. I can't do speed runs. So that's the only task I'm able to get. So I don't want them to take away the only tasks I can complete.
I just feel like killing an extra 100 is like not that much. And some people are going to need those KCs to get those tasks done.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think it's nice for people to have excuses to, or reasons to grind bosses, especially ones they maybe haven't done before.
Yeah, that's right. I can agree with you there, but I guess I can understand. But we'll see where they land on it. Again, this seems like a problem for the people who are really skilled at the game. All right, let's move on to the rewards. We've got a bunch of rewards from this bad boy or bad girl from Nex. And the first is the Torva armor set. So we got a full helm, a plate body, and plate legs. And these are the new best in slot melee armor. And they are a direct upgrade to bandos. So you'll fully replace bandos with it. But in order to actually wear the armor, you need to repair them first because you get a broken version of it. So in order to do this, you need to break down bandos chest plates and bandos tassets to get components, which you then use to repair your Torva. This is how you keep bandos relevant even after a new best in slot replaces it.
Yeah, and it's going to be cheaper than expected. So this should be not affordable, but certainly within grasp for end game play and late game players.
Yeah, much more common than people thought.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a 1 bill set. It's going to be more something like a 300 mil set. I'm not sure on rough numbers, but that'll give you an idea.
Yeah. So yeah, you need 80 defense to wear this armor. I said it before, I'll say it again. Not a huge fan of the way it looks. I think it looks a little... It looks better when someone else is fully geared out. They got boots on, gloves, or wearing a weapon, a cape, a shield. It looks better. I think it's the helmet that doesn't really work for me. And I think the problem is, I don't think it necessarily looks bad, but when you compare it to bandos with the face guard, that looks really good. So I feel like this armor needs to be better than what bandos and the face guard looks like. So I'm not a huge fan of it. And people are split both ways. What camp do you sit in? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I don't really care.
You don't really care. Neutral.
I think it's impossible to live up to Bandos' legendary hype and style. So
Yeah.
I feel like whatever Torva comes out with, we're not going to like it.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm good to just leave it as is. It still looks decent.
Now a Jmod went rogue and they said they are going to, I think it's like a personal project. They're going to try to redesign the armor because they weren't a huge fan of it either. They feel like they said it feels like something from WoW, not so much RuneScape. So
it feels like the Fallout armor, like the armor to me.
which looks
We've talked about this before. It's all right.
Yeah, so there's your Torva. Next we have the Zerite Van Braces, which is the new best in slot ranged armor in the hand slot. It is a direct upgrade from the Barrows gloves, which means it has happened. The Barrows gloves is no longer best in slot.
Say your goodbyes.
So Barrows is still good for like a hybrid because it's like it was best in slot for melee, for mage, for range, but then we got first it was the Zanite bracelet. What's it called? Tormented bracelet, which was the best in slot mage, and then we got oh my god, I can't think of it. New gloves for melee, and then now we have the Zerite Van Braces, which means Bandos is now tier 2. It's still really good, but end of an era for sure. Is that a bad thing? Hard to say.
I mean, they're still going to be good at certain places, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're still really good hybrid gloves. Now, again, similar to the Torva, I'm not a huge fan of the design. I don't think it looks bad. It just doesn't look. It's just looks very minimal. It kind of reminds me of God D'hide Van Braces that you would get from Clue Scrolls. Doesn't really stand out, but I don't know. Any thoughts one way or another?
No, they're just whatever. They're fine. Van Braces, kind of hidden.
Next is the Zerite crossbow, which you had talked about kind of what it does, but it is now the new best in slot crossbow. It replaces the Armadillo crossbow, I think, for everything.
Yep, definitely. It's really good. It's very, very, very good at next.
This one looks cool. I like the way it looks. That being said, it's also a recolor of the Armadillo crossbow, but it is what it is.
It has a new animation.
Oh, it has a new. I haven't even seen it. That's cool.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the Hunter crossbow. I'm sure no one's ever used or heard of that thing, but it's like this 3-tick crossbow. You kind of lean back and just ship it. Yeah, it's good. I like it. It looks cool.
I tried to pull up a video, and of course, I get stuck on a Raid Shadow Legends ad. Oh, it does look cool. All right, next item is the Ancient God Sword. It's a new God Sword in the theme of Zero, so it has a special attack. That's all the God Swords are good for. It's a special attack. This one's called Blood Sacrifice. Targets a single individual with double the accuracy. If it hits, it deals a normal hit with 10% damage. After an 8-cycle timer starts, if the target does not move more than 5 tiles away before the timer ends, they'll be hit for 25, with the attacker getting healed for the same amount. Basically, you hit them hard. After some time, if they haven't moved, a bomb goes off and they get hit a bunch and you get healed. Thing seems to hit pretty hard too. I've seen a few videos. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, you can time it with the AGS because I think it's perfectly apart so that you can hit over max health easily.
Of course, that's exactly what we want. And lastly, they brought Ancient Ceremonial Robes, which kind of dropped from a bunch of the minions. These are all cosmetics. And when it was first released and back in 2011, wearing the Ancient Ceremonial Robes allow you to bypass the KC to get into the room. These are just cosmetics, but they look pretty cool. I think they look really neat, but they have no actual uses besides that. Yeah. Okay. And I guess the last thing to mention is all of these items were a lot more common than I was expecting, but they're all about 1 to 200 to 1 to 400 drop rate, which means, yeah, they're fairly common. So we saw Torva at least dropping, I sold the plate legs for 530 mil on day one. I thought it was going to be worth much more, but they were much more common. So this is definitely going to be an item that you see a lot more people wearing compared to like Inquisitors, where you don't see people often with it. And I mean, Inquisitors has been...
The content's more accessible too than Nightmare was.
Yeah, Nightmare's been out for 2 years. So, I mean, it's a bit cheaper now, but yeah. So,
but still, like the content itself is like pretty easy to get into the masses. So the drops will be flowing.
Pretty cool stuff. All right. Yeah. So there's next. Anything to mention before?
I mean, yeah, you go on Reddit and you see a lot of, vitriol and anger from people. But I think overall, I really, really like the boss. Sure, I have a few gripes, specifically the Twisted Bow being almost best in slot. But besides that, I think it was a smart decision to basically straight port it. And I'm not going to get mad because, it's new content and it's fun and engaging with your friends and you can make a lot of money doing it. So overall, I give it 2 thumbs up.
Nice. Yeah. I like it as well. I like that you can mass it. I like that you can do it with a small group, and it's a fairly chill fight. My main gripe, I think, is that it doesn't feel like, I think if this boss was designed from the ground up today, it would be much more polished. It would look better and it would just feel better. It feels like a decade old because it is. And it's a part of me is like, I don't know. I guess my standards sometimes a little bit higher for this game, but because we've seen them being able to deliver. But that being said, overall, I think it's a cool update, and yeah, it's a new boss. We are thirsty for some new PVM content.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what rolls out this year.
Some great stuff there. And okay, so before we go on a break, I do have to mention that they came out with a Leagues 3, the Shattered Relics trailer this week. It looks really freaking cool. That's dropping on the 19th, so about a week. Pretty much like next week it's going to be dropping, which is really cool. So we're going to play the trailer. Do you plan? Did you see the trailer, Heartless?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, you haven't seen the trailer. Do you know if you're going to be playing Leagues? Have you thought about that at all? Or are you going to be...
let's keep it undecided for now. Not sure.
Yeah, okay, cool. Send your votes in. Call. And
it's hard because next is so fun. So
I know I was like, it doesn't make sense to have this drop 2 weeks after next.
I feel like it was a little bit of a mistake, but yeah, maybe they'll push it again. Milk next. Just kidding. It's definitely coming out this time. It has to. Yeah,
it looks really cool. Maybe I'll give a quick rundown, and then before we go to the break, we'll play the trailer, and then we'll come back and we'll read some emails and wrap the show up. Yeah, Leagues 3. It's an accelerated game mode that's happened 2 times beforehand. Each time is much different than the last, but it is a fun way to play the game if you're getting bored of your account. I think if you're not bored of your account, you're probably not going to be super pulled into doing leagues, but you basically get accelerated drop rates. You can unlock these league points, which you then can spend to unlock new skills and unlock new bosses to complete for that league. It's just like this weird game mode with all these arbitrary restrictions just to make it fun and make you kind of think and kind of plan differently and have to like problem solve. Like, what's my goal? My goal is going to be to maybe get the wildy boss pets. How am I going to get there? It's kind of fun for that. So, but let's play the trailer. We'll let it explain. It's like 3 minutes long, and then we'll go to break. And then, yeah.
Welcome to old school RuneScape's newest league, Shattered Relics. Shattered Relics is a fast-moving journey where everyone plays as an Iron Man, embarking on their own unique journey through a new alternate version of Gielinor. When you first arrive, a powerful sage will guide you through the River of Souls in preparation for your new adventure. As you'll learn, this sage isn't a fan of the all-powerful relics you had fun with in previous leagues and has shattered them into fragments. As such, relics are handled very differently in this league, with their fragments proving weaker in isolation. But on the flip side, they are interchangeable and not the permanent choices they were before. You can collect fragments from various activities across Gielinor, including skilling, minigames, and drops from combat. As you progress, slots can be unlocked and filled with any of the fragments you've collected, activating their power. Players can move fragments between the slots as they wish, when at a bank or near the sage. As you complete tasks, you'll earn league points, unlocking more fragment slots and winning access to their associated passive effects. Unlike in previous leagues, this time you have access to all of Gielinor. But there's a twist. Nearly everything is locked off. In the tutorial, you'll unlock the defense, thieving, and fishing skills, along with one combat skill of your choice. Plus, you have a League 5x XP multiplier. Run energy does not drain. Clues you have not started are stackable as scroll boxes. Each of the main areas in Shattered Relics contains a waystone waiting to be unlocked, granting unlimited free teleports around the world. With every task you complete, you'll also earn Sage's Renown. These points can be used to unlock specific pieces of content, such as skills, bosses, and auto-completing quests. Fragments have a secondary bonus too. When enough unique fragments from the same set are active at once, they grant an additional effect. Those who thrive in Shattered Relics will be rewarded with prizes that will prove helpful both in future leagues and in the main game. So, as you can see, there's certainly plenty to play for.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break and head on over to the Grand Exchange. And guys, Nex did a lot to the markets. Have you guys been seeing what's going on? First off, Armadyl crossbow shot up to like 60 mil, and then because it wasn't as useful as they thought it would be, it dropped back down to about like 36 mil. You're gonna be hearing sorry if you hear some baby noises here. I recorded this the same time I recorded the intro, which is like after we did the episode. A little behind the scenes. What do they call it? BTS, not the K-pop crew. Anyways, he's trying to sleep while I'm podcrafting a storm. So yeah, the ACB went up and then dropped down to like 36 mil. Not just that. Super Restorers are sitting at 18,000. They've almost doubled, more than doubled, 18,000 gold per. That is crazy. And so like Snapdragon seeds, they're selling for like 10K, right? Usually Super Restores and per potions, they kind of hover around the same, give or take, but prayer potions tip out 10K, so almost half of it because, not using brews or anything. It's freaking crazy. Another thing to mention, the Grazi Rapier also shot up. It's, sitting around like 90 mil, it looks like, and it shot to about 120, and then it dropped back down when people weren't using it as much. But it's still sitting about 100, went up 10 mil. So of course, whenever you get these like crazy, fairly big update, especially with this, bringing in new best in slots, it's a big gold mine for a lot of people, and it's like the first big piece of content we've gotten in a while, ignoring Group Iron, Temperos, like those are all like fairly small. Next was like a little bit bigger because we were getting a whole new gear. So anyways, it's of course it's causing the market to jump around in a bunch. So anyways, you love to see it, you hate to see it, depends. Who knows, maybe Herblore is actually going to be a viable way to make money for a little bit. Maybe, probably not, I don't know, who knows. Anyways, guys, moving on from that, of course, I gotta talk about how you can support the show if you want, if you want to support the show at all, or maybe, get some bonus content. Head over to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast, where you can do that. We have a few different tiers, and of course, one of the reward tiers gets you a special shout out and thank you on this episode for being our top tier supporter. So thank you, Gentinu, Splimo, Sejuan, Strosity, Mallard, Twisted Soul, J Blaz, Z Space, Chandler, and Yay Fiber. Guys, thank you so much for your support, and thank you to everyone else who does support the show as well. Patreon's not your thing. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz, where you can buy me a coffee. So thank you, Angie666, for keeping me caffeinated this week. And of course, if you are an avid Discord user, you'll know that we have a Discord server, discord.gg/thewilderness. And we have that unique URL because of our awesome Nitro boosters. Is it Nitro Booster? Yeah, I think it's a Nitro Booster. So thank you to Bonehead, Battlestaffs, Beef Click, Fart Pilled, Hoyt, Should've, and Chick. Thank you guys so much for boosting the server and giving us a whole whack of goodies. Yeah, all right. I am so scared of waking this little guy up, so let's just move on to the end segment, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for all the support. All right, we are back from our break. Heartless had to step away for a second. He's coming back though. But hey, we have to do these emails. We have 2 emails to go through, so I'm going to tackle them solo while Heartless steps away for a second. He's gone to get a pack of cigarettes, guys. Is he coming back? Call into the Wilderness hotline to figure that one out. Funny note, I tried to open like a call line so that people could call in, like leave like voicemails and stuff for the podcast. I was setting it up, and then literally a week later, I think it was a Google service. Anyways, they shut it down. So I've had people asking for it, and I might do it because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And when I was making this podcast, I pulled a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of segments that I liked from different podcasts I listened to, and I kind of did something similar for this show. And there's one that I always liked where they'd had a call-in segment where people would leave voicemails and they would answer it. Kind of like emails, but it was a voicemail. And I always liked that segment a lot, and I really wanted to introduce it. And then I had someone asking for it like a week ago. Hey, that'd be a cool idea. And I was like, I should do that again. I should figure that one out. So there might be a call line at some point. Oh man, I like me the old radio style where you can do like live call-in shows. Oh, those are always fun. All right, let's get to our emails. The first one is from none other than the notorious Matakos 1. And he says, I'm a huge sailing fan as well, but I've never been a sailor myself. Some context, guys. A few episodes ago, we were he sent in a question, and I went on this spiel about being interested about being a sailor one day. I just want to sing songs on a boat. You know how it always seems like people are singing when you're singing together, right? Like sea shanties, Sea Shanty 2, right? It always seems like people are just like to sing. So anyways, I don't know. The whole sailing life seems fun. And what can go wrong? It seems like nothing ever goes wrong when you're out there sailing. So I went on this little tangent about how interesting sailing kind of is to me. It's really foreign, right? Where I live in Ontario, Canada. There's no oceans around me. I have Lake Ontario, but like that's like a canoe kind of lake. It's kind of a big lake, but there's no oceans around me. So the whole idea of these big vessels is completely foreign to me. So I read these books and about it, and it's all kind of interesting. So anyways, that's what we got about. That's some context. We were talking about sailing. This is a follow-up. Matakos says, I've never been a sailor myself. However, if I had to move out of Austria, I'd move to a port city like, we are going to learn how to pronounce this.
Marseille.
Marseille. Okay, that's the pronunciation. Hamburg, Lisbon, or Venice. I'd move to a port city like those 4. Can I throw another question at you? What is your favorite island? I feel like obvious choices, Karamja or Karamia. No one's here to tell me no. Or Korend. But I've always loved Lunar Isle. It reminds me of a northern Norse village, something I've always had a soft spot for. So what is your favorite island? And that is a good question. I was looking at some of the islands when I was reading this, and I don't know. I think Lunar Isle is a cool island as well. Korend can't quite call it an island. It's like it's its own continent, right? It's massive. I don't think is there even any. There's a small island built off of it. But Lunar Isle is cool. I like it how it's got lore related to the Fremenic Isles or Relica, the Fremenic province, where like they're all about not using magic. They're just like, we're primitive and use big axe and swords and shields. Whereas Lunar Isle is like, nah, bro, like we learn all this crazy magic where we can go inside dreams. So we're just going to go move over to this island that also looks like a moon because that's cool. So they kind of broke off. Lunar Isle is like a rogue tribe from the Fremenics that they wanted to go and study magic. So they kind of did that. And then I'm not super versed on the lore itself, but now, what are my favorite islands? I'm probably not even going to answer this question because I don't know if I can. There's a lot of cool ones. Okay, looking at it right now, one, I like the Iceberg. Is that an island? I don't know, but you can sail to it, and that's where the penguins are. That's sweet. How cool would it be to get an expansion to the Iceberg? Like, I don't know, a second iceberg that was bigger and had other stuff to do on it that was non-penguin related. Maybe it was penguin related. It's like a penguin raid. That'd be sweet. The Iceberg is cool. That's an interesting piece of content, not very much used. Another cool island I like is Mossly Harmless and Harmony. The 2 islands that are like, you get them from like pirate quests. They're pretty cool and they're not really used that much. Like they're for like There's not much going on there. We could use more content on there, but it's kind of cool. They're kind of very isolated. Tutorial Island has to be the winner, though. Tutorial Island is where we all begin. It's where every RuneScaper is born, right? It's like Matrix, where the people are born in those pods, and they're like powering the bots. We're like the same thing. Every RuneScaper, before they break free, they're born on Tutorial Island, and they're powering the botting problem we have. That's exactly what's going on there. But one thing that I always thought was kind of interesting is there's so many islands that like have so little uses. Like if you look on the map, there's so many that you might go to once. You might go there for one clue, but they have like no uses. And one thing that would be kind of cool with the sailing skill. So way back in like 2015 or 14, they proposed this idea for the sailing skill and people didn't really like it. So it like just barely failed. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. But the idea was like, it'd be like an exploration skill. You'd be able to hire a crew, you'd have a boat, you'd go sail, and you'd discover new islands. And on those islands, it would be like little mini dungeons. And you can get new items from it, new weapons and armor. And that's where a lot of new content would come from. So it was basically like dungeoneering in RuneScape 3, but it was done via sailing and finding caves and finding islands instead of going to this like dungeoneering skill area. So yeah, hard to say. I think there are some unique islands. I think a lot of them don't get much love. Fossil Island is pretty cool, but like I like the iceberg could be really neat if you added a few weird, like add a boss on there. That's like some like Yeti or something you had to fight. A lot of cool content could be done there. I saw people talking, or we were kind of talking about it in the CC, about having like a mechanic. We already have it with Winter Todd, where like you take damage for being too cold. But how cool would it be if you go to this new area that was like this like island up north? There was like this super cold blizzard. Maybe it was like a mountain. You had to climb it, but it was so cold that like you would take damage, and every now and then you would need to find a cave to huddle and hide in the cave to regain your temperature to heal up. And you needed warm clothes to do it. You had to set fires, and maybe you go into a cave and there's monsters there. You had to kill them first in order to like seek refuge in it. That'd be kind of neat. Matacos1, thank you so much for the email. As always a pleasure to get an email from you. And of course, our next email is from Mr. Busco Beef himself. He's been updating us on his journey along the way. Yeah, he wanted to update us where we were at. So he says, after I got my elite void to fight Vorkath, I won a Halloween contest in my clan and won 20 mil for first place. This is where you plug the Wilderness CC. It's actually clan Wild, WILD. But it says, this allowed me to buy a Dragon Hunter Lance and start grinding Vorkath. Man, I love that dragon. The money I earned allowed me to get max strength gear and let me train some skills that are just money sinks, like construction to 83. It is pretty easy ski, but oh well, until they nerf it. I also attached an image that I want to get both of your reactions on. Unfortunately, Heartless got to pick up some cigarettes. No, he's not much of a smoker, so it's probably Nicorette gum then. He says, I knocked out a lot of achievement diaries, all but 3 hard diaries and elites, which is good. I always recommend people to go do your diaries if you don't have anything to do. If you're bored, it's basically just a checklist of things to do. And I mean, if you don't like any of the rewards, at the very least, you get an XP lamp. That's great. And then he says, while traveling around Gielinor during these diaries, I realized a lot of the fantastic transportation methods that are rarely used, such as eagles, Dorgeshuun train, hot air balloons. Big fan of the Dorgeshuun train because you actually have to stand in the train and wait for it to move. I love stuff like that. Feels very immersive. It's also annoying to show up and the train is gone, right? That's so immersive. You show up and it's like the train is packed and you're like, do I go on that train or do I wait? And you go on the train and there's a bunch of beggars and people ask you for money and you're like, I should have waited. Should have gone to the next train. Would you like to see these getting rid of or expanded upon to make them more viable? If you want them to expand, how would you make them more accessible, fun to use, other than just a house tell tab to wherever? So I would like them to definitely like them to be more used, because teleports are just like they're instant. It'd be so much. How cool would it be if there was like a train that ran from Varrock and it went all the way to Ardone, right? And it went to Falador and it went to under White Wolf Mountain. Maybe it stopped at Catherby or Sears Village and it went to East Ardone. And then maybe it went to Yanil too. I'm looking at it now. There's a nice path that could go all the way there. And what if it took like 10 minutes, right? So you like It's that thing. Nobody wants to wait 10 minutes. But like you see the train pop up and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get on the train. And then it goes to each one of these stops. You miss it. You got to wait for it to come back. And you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll walk to Varrock. Maybe I'll do this or this. I know we don't have time like that for that anymore. And it's kind of like the Grand Exchange being removed. And people love the idea of trading person to person, but it's very inconvenient. But I do have a lot of memories of games where like Maple Story, you had to wait friggin' 40 minutes for the Airbus to show up. And then you get in the Airbus and you had to sit on the Airbus for 40 minutes. And you're usually AFK'd. Sometimes you like play little games with people on there, but sometimes the Airbus got attacked and you had to fight the boss, or you could choose to hide in the basement area, the cargo. So anyways, I would like to see things like the train expanded, but hey, whatever. Okay, and I see here, and lastly, Busco Beep, you have sent a picture of your Halloween contest. Everyone looks great. Everyone knows the true end game to RuneScape is Fashionscape. So any way to look fly is awesome, and everyone's got their own take. You got to get creative. And finally, I see here you got 700 4-cat kills. That is more than I got. And oh my God. And I see you got the bone necklace, which is a very rare item, which is like you get it and you're like, yay, collection log item. But also I hate myself because this is like 1 in 2,000. Anyways, crazy stuff. All right, guys, thank you so much for the emails. If you want to email, we're going to follow up in a second with how you can go on and do that. And yeah, always love hearing from people. And you know what? We got to get this voice system in. Guys, let me know if I got a call, like a voicemail. Would people call in to leave voicemails? That would be sweet. If enough people like it, I will look into it again. Some great stuff. Okay. All right. Let's bring Heartless back on. I've been keeping him off the whole time, and we'll get to the end of the show. Thanks again. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Yeah, guys, we have a Discord, discord.gg/thewilderness. Come hang out there. You can meet a bunch of people and play some RuneScape and share some pictures and do whatever. We also have a clan Wild. You'll have to, man, the clan system's kind of confusing. We also have a CC or a friends chat, but a lot of people have come to the clan. So you'll have to, the clan's Wild. You can join it as a guest and then someone has to let you in. If you have an email, you can email us at TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. And I guess last but not least, if you want to watch me do some Inferno in the future and see my heart rate, and I don't know, you can make fun of how out of shape I am, twitch.tv/Dilz for that. And yeah, Heartless, anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
Nope. Come join the Discord. Get ready for that next bingo.
Oh, bingo, it is. All right, yeah, just around the corner, indeed. Okay, any song? We should play one of the next songs. There's one thing we didn't actually mention. The next tunes are freaking good. They're pretty dope.
Yeah, you should definitely throw them on.
All right, well, I'll play my favorite one. There's two of them. One of them is, they're both good. One of them's better than the other. One of them is for like the people who are really into jazz and really into like prog rock. I had like musician friends growing up, and I'd go over, we'd smoke weed, drink beer, eat pizza, and then instead of watching a movie, they'd put on like an album, and we'd listen to like Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's weird.
I was never like, I mean, I enjoyed it sort of, but I was never as into it as they were. They'd like listen and be like, bro, you hear that chord progression? Like,
oh God.
Oh, I love how it goes from like 3/4 to 4/4, and do you hear the quadruples right there? Oh my God, look at here. He's going to do a little pig squeal. That's like a heavy metal thing. But anyways, that's what the other song is kind of like. We'll play it next week. This, I feel like people are like, we really want to hear that song now. This week we're going to play Angel's Fury because that song is friggin' awesome and I really like it. And it kind of speeds up. So if you really want to get nerdy, you'd be like, oh my God, it's double time. And here's the breakdown. But yeah, Angel's Fury is a music track that is unlocked in the encounter with Nex, which requires completion of the mini quest, the Frozen Door, to unlock, aka get the Frozen Key. The track begins playing when Nex enters her blood phase after Umbra is killed, and this track is based off the Angel of Death music track from the Angel of Death, Nex's hard mode encounter in RuneScape. Holy shit, it's already built into the game. Of course we're getting a hard mode. Oh, that's funny. All right, that about does it. I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Take care.